Hey everyone, it's Diego Viteri. Welcome to a new video of Viteri Boxing. Today I want to teach you how to stop telegraphing your punches. Telegraphing your punches could be your worst mistake. Basically, they can hit you, they can defend your punches, so make sure to stay until the end of the video. Let's begin. The first thing you need to understand is where does telegraphing, the term telegraphing comes from. It comes basically from the machine created at the beginning of the 19th century, which was used to send and receive messages. So when we say stop telegraphing to your opponent, we mean stop sending those messages, stop telling your opponent you're going to throw a punch. But today I don't want to teach you the basic telegraphing punches of pulling your arm back. Some of the telegraphing punches you're doing or the mistakes you're doing are not that obvious. And why you should stop telegraphing. The first one is because they can defend. It's really easy if you telegraph a punch that they will defend. And the second one is because they can hit you, and it's not going to be an effective way if you are still doing this. So we have to stop telegraphing punches in order to have an effective punch. The first way you can do a telegraphing without even noticing is because you're having habits or patterns. Basically, if you throw a jab and you always move to the left, you're boxing, you throw the jab and you move to the left, that's kind of telling your opponent what you're going to do. You already throw the jab, he knows you're going to move to the left. So that's a way of telegraphing. Another way is maybe bouncing. You're bouncing all the time, you bounce and you throw the punches. Maybe like Pacquiao did in his fourth fight with Juan Manuel Marquez. Before he goes with an attack, he pretends he's going in and out. And Marquez could know that because it was basically he was telling he was going in and he could catch him and knock him out. Some other people like to bend. They bend so they get more power on their rear side, so they can throw their cross or maybe a hook with power. But if you're bending all the time to create more power, that will tell your opponent and it will be really easy for him to slip and maybe even counter you. Maybe you're not pulling your arm, but you're still bending, and that's telling your opponent. So stop doing that and try to mix things up. Don't have patterns. Try to always break your rhythm. A drill that we can work on to stop having habits and patterns and stop telegraphing your opponent is we're going to do different kind of attacking to our opponent, always with a single punch. The first one is we're going to be bouncing, and from this bounce, I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to keep bouncing, and I'm going to throw a punch. I'm going to keep bouncing, and move with a shot. Always keep bouncing and punch. Bouncing and punch. You never stop. The second one, you're basically switching your rhythm. You're going to change your rhythm. You are going to be bouncing. You stop. And as soon as you stop, you throw a punch. You move, you stop, you throw a punch. You move, you stop, and you throw a punch. And the third one, you're not gonna bounce any at all. You're just gonna be walking, moving around. You're gonna do a little movement with your shoulder, with your hand, whatever you want. You can lower your level, and throw a punch. So you move slow, feint, and you throw a punch. You move, and you throw a punch. The second way you are telegraphing to your opponent, you are telling him that you're going to throw a punch, is just by loading a little bit with every punch you throw. Basically, and the most common one is with the jab. If you see one of my jabs, I go like this, you might think I'm not loading my jab, but if you notice in slow motion, what I'm doing is I'm pulling a little bit, just a little bit, and I'm pulling and I'm throwing. Remember, it's less than a blink of an eye that he gets that data and he moves away from that jab. So make sure, if you watch this Kimbo Slice with Michael J. White, remember when Michael J. White was showing Kimbo how not to telegraph the punches. He was just throwing the jab without telegraphing. It was really hard for Kimbo to move his hand out of the way. So if you have a really good jab without loading even a little bit, just from here throwing your jab, it will be really hard for your opponent to move out of the way. And another way that people telegraph punch is because they have the incorrect way or the mechanic of throwing the punch. Sometimes when they throw the punch, they don't start with the fist, then the elbow, and at the end the shoulder. They start with the shoulder, and at the end the punch, shoulder, and at the end the punch. So as soon as they move their shoulder, they're basically sending that message to their opponent. I'm going to throw a punch, so move out of the way. that's the correct way of throwing a punch. So make sure you're always, when you're working on the heavy bag, you throw it from this position. Make sure where's your punch, and from here you throw the punch. Don't pull back anything. You have to be really conscious about this training. So I stop from here, and I throw my jab from here. This way that will create this pattern of always throwing the punch from the same position without loading, and it will be really hard for your opponent to move out of the way, and that will create, of course, more efficiency in your boxing. Thanks everyone for watching my video. Sometimes you don't need to be the fastest guy in the boxing gym. You just need to stop telegraphing, and that will make you a lot faster, and that will make your opponent less able to move out of the way. So make sure you're conscious of every training to stop pulling your hand, to stop having patterns that sometimes are not like really bad mistakes, they are bad habits, only bad habits, and some of them are the mechanics, little details that make the difference inside of boxing. So subscribe, leave me your comment below of what you want to learn next week, and I'll sure do that video for you. See you next week.